just give it a moment to breathe. And also, again, say welcome to everyone, wholeness and balanced vibration. Good day. It's Sunday. It's a new day. We're in this and we're alive and kicking. I feel like that, our consistent dream in this life is just to be here and to be grateful for this connection that we have and to make the best out of our experience. Like, you could only do so much in one day anyway. And it's great that we have an opportunity to start our days with this. And sometimes, if we're not stimulated all the time because we're kind of like in the stimulation junkie culture where, everything must be new and and adventure and an exploration. It's always great also to just dial into what we have that is consistent and what we have that also gives us a very strong window into the variety of our existence. And I feel like that this place that we've created with this meditation is that it's uniquely special in itself. And it brings us together in a very special time where I feel like that, we shouldn't just have to need each other. We do want each other. There's a lot in this connection that we share on this planet that is so much more expansive when we're all in a harmonic state. And I was even thinking about yesterday how, with all this stuff going on, I just had to kind of laugh for one moment because I was like, man, Earth is pretty intense. Like it's kind of got this stressful thing going on all the time. And it's when that starts to become foreign to you because you learn how to get into other spaces, it's just one of those things where it's like a preference, like how you choose to live your life. But when you want to change, it doesn't just happen right away. That's the only thing. It really does take you to go one cycle, whatever that is for yourself. Some say it's 22 days, 23 days. There's different quotients of what it takes for a person to set in a new cycle and a new intention. And so Sunday is a new day. It's a time that's great to set in the new cycles and set in the new intentions. I brought awareness this week to next month being a key and instrumental point of dialing in your energy properly. I see this happen every single year, starting from March 22nd all the way into the choosing of the Easter being the most important times where you're definitely choosing who you're going to be with, who you're going to rock with. So how that works is let's say energetically we all have a mate, and contrary to kind of how things happen on Earth, in the greater spaces, your mates oscillate. It's like a dance. And you get a chance to choose based on the new energy that you want to bring in, or you can remain with the energy that you've been uh, you know, cultivating or, chilling in. You get an opportunity to actually dive into another womb and to begin to manifest a new projection. And that's what the Asters really were. It's like an egg. Um, and that's why Easter got the egg and then it got the rabbit. And, that's all fertility. That's all the movements of Venus. And also what you witness rabbits do under the moonlight, which if you have seen, they have this little weird dance that they do. Nature has all of its mysteries embedded in it if we're looking. And that egg structure is the 100% okay, I give it my approval, seal of the gods geometry of what is the best way to form something when you're bringing it into this space, right? So with the egg and the womb, you have these powerful gestation components in life where you get a chance to, because of course the egg does go through its term. It doesn't always remain an egg. It eventually hatches. So in this process, you get an opportunity to not only pick the egg that you want, you have then the power to actually cultivate that egg, that energy, and then to bring it to life. And if anyone caught semester two's university on the last episode, or excuse me, the last presentation, I mean, there was a really massive opening up. I had an entire script of what was supposed to be on that particular lesson with the university. This is university semester two, the last lesson. And man, a force came through so powerful. It was like, you don't even need to go by that script. Here it is. We're going to dial it in from first, we're going to take it to the atom and just see the geometric structures there. Then we're going to take it to the occult world, and then we're going to take it here and take it there. And just an amazing experience because there was a lot of diagrams and things that I already had, and they all connected at one time. And what it led into is this awareness that we're ruling from the egg. This is the esoteric term, ruling from the egg. And what it's an awareness of is that actually, on the, let's say, the expanded high levels, if you may, that many beings are still in the egg phase, but they're fully conscious and fully sentient. And that the egg actually is a diagram for a certain level of maintenance of not only power, but also like a continuous perpetual existence, right? So imagine that if you have 5 trees that bear different fruit at different times, and you staggered or planted those trees to where when substance ran out from one tree, it was ready at another tree ad infinitum. This is like the keys to, let's say, physical perpetual existence, is to have your nourishment consistently coming in unceasingly. And then when you notice with the egg, it has the yellow, and then it has what is around it. And if you study the egg, you know that what is around it, what we call the egg white, is what the egg is eating to nourish itself. So imagine a perpetual existence where this nourishment never runs out. And what is in the center continuously develops itself as it has the protection of what is going on or what is outside to seal itself in and to sustain itself, basically to keep from being distracted and bombarded by all types of light and distractions and all the things that can disturb growth. And then this egg and what was inside of it would reach such a stage of sentience that it would be able to project. Some would say rule, meaning actually being able to make things happen from inside of an egg. Okay. Now, the occult mysteries behind this are pretty deep. They talk about this egg that is actually like more of like a dark, even almost a black, because it's so mineralized, and that these eggs used to just sit over in the delta, which is actually surprisingly shaped like a vagina, and that all of, let's say, the souls that are coming from underneath, which is really inside. The center of the earth is really the inside. Things are birthed from the inside of the earth first. They're birthed underneath or in the lower layers, also called the netherworld, and then they push their way up through the netherworld and simultaneously gaining experiences from the layers that are inside of these realms as they go through, right? So they're gaining essence and energy. So with you yourself, having this powerful diagram of awareness of how to connect into the new aspects of self and exactly what that germination process would look like, then it just becomes timing. It becomes about timing being a big part of this, because as you see, even with the woman's cycle and her gestation processes, she can tell everything about where she's at, whether she's fertile, whether she's a bit, let's say, reaving, like pulling energy, or giving energy, like the moon does in its new and its full phases. And that can all be told by time. So it becomes a good time for us to actually see that, well, if you're going to be given the keys to your ship, you got to know where to steer it. And if you've possibly given those keys to someone else or something else, and maybe it just wants you to be sad, maybe it just wants you to be sorrowful, maybe it just wants you to, I don't know, starve yourself, neglect yourself, and it's telling you that as a solution. If you don't actually feel that that is what space you want to inherit, especially from 3/22 all the way to, we'll just say, the end of April. So we're in the end of April, and there is when the choosing of the Easter is finally done. It stops like Easter, but because the Gregorian is always off 3 or 4 days, who knows? It slips. It's a leap year. So it's really like to the end of April, you'll be straight. And then also we know that I think it's June, somewhere in June 8th, 16th, June, somewhere in there. This is when the real All Hallows Eve actually begins. And we already synchronize and crack that as the ancestors are actually visiting us, the world of the dead, because of the vibration and frequency, and then bringing us our gifts. And I guess let me speak clearly on that. Like everybody knows that. So anyway, so after this process of Easter, right? So you choose your egg. you choose the energy you're gonna roll with, and you do this by your actions, of course. This is not like something that you have to be like try to find all these different deities and then start calling, this one deity. And that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about that by your actions and by your handling yourself, how you're handling yourself. And I've always recommended just handle yourself in balance. This doesn't mean that if something serious is happening that you can't be serious because you think you're going to manifest this energy that's just too serious for a year. That's neophyte stuff. What we're saying is work with your balance. Don't go too far to the extreme of just completely being oblivious to what's happening in this world and you're all on the higher consciousness and you refuse to come down into this and you just stay into this deer in the headlights kind of stage where you're just ignoring everything, right? And then likewise, don't slam yourself to the pavement, stay in the anxiety, be completely letting others determine what your future is going to be, getting too caught up in the news and all that kind of stuff. You want to be right in between. And then as these times go through, then it would mean that you have chose, because there's an energy that is associated with that. We don't want to be giving stuff names when it's so unique. So there's an energy that's associated with that that's just going to come and it's going to form right around you like an egg. And it's going to start that process of you gestating your new existence and how you want your energy for this next turn. So also, right after that, to help solidify that, just so you know what goes on astronomically and what goes on metaphysically, is then the energies that are going to give you, let's say, this essence, this power, this gift, this skill, they begin to visit you from a certain day, which we know is June 8th, somewhere in there, all the way up to this is October, November 8th, somewhere in there. Okay. Like I never proclaimed to be an astronomer or an astrologer. I just know what goes on. I feel the energy. I know the story. And then this is as much as one needs to be aware of. So you have this moment, 322, which is already passed, all the way to Easter and a week after Easter, choosing the Aster. Then you have, once June begins, the ancestors coming forward, which are the ancestors are in the future. They're on a higher vibratory frequency, so they're not in the past. Time is distance, right? So when we say if something's in the future, it means it's on a higher vibration, because time time exists, but it doesn't exist as a linear definition in the definition that many have given it. But a timeline is all of our memories and when those memories took place, and even the simultaneous memories that took place at the same time. To insist that it doesn't exist, that doesn't make any sense, especially since you are waiting on 9 o'clock or waiting on 12 o'clock. You're already confirming its existence by your actions. So it's better just to understand how it works. So now in this time that comes, the ancestors who have to come through here anyway, everybody that's in one accord and knows what the real secrets are, they move with the current. And it's the same thing as the current in the ocean, as the current in the cosmos. As a sailor, if you get on that current and you put your sails in a proper direction, you can sail with the current and you never have to engage your motor. You only have to engage your motor when you're trying to go where you want to go, without the realization that, hey, you're going to eventually visit every place anyway. The thing about riding on the current is the current moves all through the world and it visits every single place. So you set the time of, like any sailor, any navigator has to set the time that they're going to shove off. You don't just go out there. You set the time. And that's what I'm saying. Timing and knowing a little bit about this time, not getting obsessed by it, but knowing a little bit about this time, it is very important. So you know what time as a navigator, when you're going to be leaving out there, because you got to know what current you're catching and when that current is moving through. So once you get on the current, though, now it's what they call easy sailing. So to get to that stage of easy sailing where you're allowing the force of the cosmos at its highest levels to prepare you and propel you into the next experience, knowing that you'll never be too late, you'll never be super early, you'll be right on time. Nothing will ever get left out. It visits everybody. It's a procession. They even actually have some holidays in India that still bear witness to this. of the ensemble of all of the gods and the deities and the energies. And what this was all about is that there's a continuous procession, which we call the stars, that come through and they visit you while you're in this prism. Okay, and we've talked about the prison and the word prism, and how in the prism there is this 9 colors. 2 of them are invisible. One's called white, the other one's called black. Clear is invisible, or the absence of color. So they say 7 colors, but it's really 9. So there's 7 colors in the spectrum. So when you shine light into a prism, you get 7 colors or a rainbow. And there's 2 other colors that you can't really see, but they're there. And when we say we're in the prism, it is a cognate sometimes of we're in the prison, because there are frequencies and bandwidths here. And so there's literally like a break where something stops and something else begins. Versus in the all, there's no end and there's no beginning. So here in the prism, there's these limitations, which we talked about, allow us to be perceptive of different variants of our power, and it takes us through a course of an awareness of just who we truly are, internally and externally alike. Ancestors have zero chill about what experiences they're taking us through, and what they want to show us is really possible, so that we just snap into it at some point, like, okay, I get it. Limitless. How do you learn the limitless? And if you think that there's anything that can be presented that is impossible inside of the English language, you are wrong, especially the English language and most other uttered languages. Everything has been tested out. Everything has been explored already. This is how you test the code. Like, language is a code. So you have to test it. You have to do every single thing inside the language. So ancestors have done every single thing to know the boundaries and the reaches of what we can say and what we can conceive. Even in hidden languages and tongues, what can be said and what can be conceived. And then once you get on the tip of the sun, and we talked about this before, because at this point, in many cases, depending on your vibratory frequency, you could be in the wake of the sun. I believe that's like being behind something. Like, say a boat is flying and you're just behind there. You may be holding on to it doing your jet ski, but you're still behind it. So in many cases, the sun is moving and spiraling through, and then we're in the back catching all the stardust of the sun's experiences. The realities at times that are being projected are far gone, meaning they're things that have already taken place, but we're living in them as if it's new for us. That's really the whole story to parenting, that we've been through as parents, much of what the child is going to go through. So we can stay behind the sun, and it could keep projecting this reality, and us then living the reality after the sun. Or we can get on what I call the tip of the sun. And then you imagine yourself, even if the sun's a huge ball, I don't know, maybe it's flat, who cares? And you're standing on tip of it and you're leaning forward, and now like we stand on the shoulders of giants. So everything the sun is just about to experience, you experience first. 2, boom. And you go through that experience in the full magnitude of what that experience really is. Now you're seeing it for yourself. You're not catching secondhand. You're getting the actual thing when it happens. But to do that, you got to be willing not to look back. And this gets a little tricky. Time begins when you look back. Time is very real, but when you're just in the experience, imagine everything becomes a first time for you. That's why we have all of these other planetary centers, because if it's just all about just the first time, well, shoot, we're going to be like just geeked up all the time, because the first time is so powerful. You know, remember, think about every time you've had a first time. We have to do a meditation like that, maybe next Sunday, maybe you can remind me of that. Next Sunday, just thinking of your first time of a lot of things and seeing how much energy is condensed in that first time. But then what happens generally after that first time when it's so amazing? You wake up the next morning, then what do? You think about that. Now, of course, it's not going to be as good as the first time, and you thinking about it, there becomes a distance between you and that moment. Now, there's energy there, so you can actually pull in some of that energy. You smile again. Yeah, that was on point. And you're even happy for a while. But of course, by day 10, by day 11, This is not an eternal fire. Obviously, it begins to go out and you begin to need that experience again. Now, masters have seemed to also figure out how to be so minimalist. This is what the aesthetic was really about. To be so minimalist that even just a breeze from the wind, ooh, ooh, this is not. It doesn't take a Ferrari and several different friends, 50,000 likes, a new payroll, some food in the refrigerator, 5 freezers, and all of this to be like, ah. It's just a little blow and gust of the wind, and now you're feeling like it's new again. So this is why there is power in the mind, even though many have thrown away the mind and feel like the mind is no good anymore. If you can get it up to shape, the mind is also very powerful because it's capable. It is the vehicle in which goes into these spaces and is able to feed the physical body even. It can feed the physical body thoughts of greatness. And if the physical body, if the mind is able to convince the physical body without a doubt that this greatness is true, the body it becomes great. So there's a procedure to all this, and that's why I was saying the metaphysics is a big key. Knowing this knowledge is a key, and also always remember that you are this. So if you feel like you're going to get stuck with no books, or that maybe the internet's going to come off, there's going to be no more Sevan Bomar or whatever, don't let the monkey mind tell you another story about how you need to get this. This is something that you have, and then now you're just being told why you should probably use it this way, and it's just a suggestion. So we're going to go into a meditation because that is my dissertation for today. I didn't want to be long-winded somehow. I said I wasn't going to say anything, but I guess the egg wanted to talk. And that was just because we're going to have key makers today at 9:30. That's going to be on all the major channels. So this is YouTube, this is Secret Energy TV, this is Facebook. And what we'll be able to do is we'll be able to have this meditation now, and then in an hour and a half, we're going to hear from the rest of the world. And we're going to open up a question and answer session for all those that want to attend. And we're going to bring our brothers and our sisters that have also been with us that we know are equally acclimated in their own way to address questions. And we're going to see, what the key makers are able to resolve and bring solutions to as we keep going forward. So our sister Deus is going to do the meditation for today. She's going to bring us into something unique and special. I'm going to line up these cameras, which is done to get that started. And we're going to do a brief sound test just to make sure everything is on point. And then we're going to do our meditation. And then later on, we're going to come back in for our next level of fun, which is going to be key makers and sharing with one another and demystifying this matrix.